The breaking point 5 months had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Oversight Council, and the galaxy was experiencing something it hadn't felt in 5 centuries. Uncertainty. Dr. Alina Vasquez stood in the gleaming laboratory, aboard Titan Station, watching her team work with an intensity that would have been impossible under council restrictions. Around her, brilliant minds from across human space pushed the boundaries of science in ways the galaxy had never seen. The council had made their fatal mistake when they demanded that humanity cease all unauthorized research and submit their brightest minds for productivity optimization. What they called optimization, humans recognized as the same process that had turned the galaxy's most creative species into docile servants would not be inflicted upon. Earth's children. Elena's fingers danced across the holographic interface as she reviewed the latest breakthrough. Her team had just solved quantum consciousness transfer, a technology that could revolutionize medicine across the galaxy. Under council rule, such innovation was forbidden. Independent thought led to independent action, and independent action threatened the established order. The communication panel chimed with an incoming priority message. Alina gestured, and the image of Ambassador Zahra al-Rashid materialized in the lab. Zahra's expression was grim, but her eyes held a spark of something Alina recognized as hope. "Alina, we've got a situation," Zahra began. "The Calarian homeworld is requesting immediate humanitarian aid. Their children are dying from the genetic plague, and the Council's approved treatments aren't working." Alina nodded. The Calarians had been one of the galaxy's most advanced species before Council intervention. Their scientists had been reduced to following prescribed formulas, forbidden from adapting or innovating. When the plague struck, they found themselves helpless, watching their young suffer while bureaucrats debated approved responses. "What's the Council's position?" Alina asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Chancellor Vrex has declared the Calarian situation manageable within existing parameters," Zahra replied with obvious disgust. "They're willing to let children die rather than admit their system has failed." Alina looked around her laboratory, at the quantum medical pods her team had developed, at the adaptive treatment algorithms that could analyze and counter any biological threat in real time. The technology existed to save those children, but using it would mean directly defying Council authority. "How long until we can reach Calarian space?" Alina asked. Zahra's smile was fierce. "Captain Chun's fleet is already en route. We'll be there in 18 hours. The decision represented everything the Council feared about human independence. Humans didn't ask permission to save lives. They didn't wait for approval to do what was right. They acted according to their own moral compass, regardless of political consequences." Meanwhile, in the crystal spires of the Council homeworld, Chancellor Vrex paced his chamber with growing agitation. His species, the Vorthok, had ruled the galaxy for half a millennium by maintaining absolute control over information and innovation. Every species was assigned a role, every individual programmed for compliance, every new idea filtered through Council approval. The humans had shattered that system simply by refusing to participate. "Status report," Vrex commanded his aide. A heavily modified Zephyrian, whose original species had once been explorers and poets. Now they served as perfect bureaucrats, their creativity surgically removed. "The situation continues to deteriorate, Chancellor," the aide reported in a monotone voice. 17 species have formally requested information about pre-modification histories. The Drakmarie merchant guilds are demanding the right to establish trade routes without council oversight. Most concerning, Productivity across 12 sectors has dropped as workers begin questioning their assigned roles. Rex's crystalline features darkened. The humans hadn't just left the council. They had planted a seed of rebellion that was growing throughout the galaxy. Species that had been docile for centuries were suddenly asking dangerous questions. Why were they modified? What had they been like before? Was there an alternative to council rule? What of the Calarian situation? Rex asked. The plague continues to spread. Our approved treatments show limited effectiveness. Casualties among juveniles have reached 43%. Rex nodded coldly. The Calarians had been warriors once, fierce and independent. Their modification had been particularly extensive, designed to break their will to fight. If the plague eliminated their young, they would become even more dependent on council support. It was, in many ways, a perfect solution to the problem of managing a potentially rebellious population. Maintain current protocols, Rex ordered. The situation will resolve itself. But even as he spoke, new reports were arriving. Human ships had been detected entering Calarian space, carrying medical supplies and personnel. They weren't requesting permission. They weren't negotiating with council authorities. They were simply acting to save lives, as if they had the right to make such decisions independently. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the human vessel Prometheus, watching the Calarian homeworld grow larger on the view screen. Behind him, Dr. Alina Vasquez worked with her medical team to prepare the quantum healing chambers. The technology was revolutionary, capable of rewriting genetic code at the cellular level to counter any disease or plague. Calarian defense platforms are powering weapons, reported the tactical officer. They're broadcasting council authorization codes, demanding we withdraw immediately. Marcus studied the readings. The Calarians were dying, their children suffering, from a plague their own scientists couldn't cure, yet they were prepared to fire on the only people offering help. Such was the power of council conditioning. Open a channel to the Calarian commander, Marcus ordered. The view screen shifted to show Commander Thess, a reptilian Calarian whose scales bore the scars of genetic modification procedures. Her eyes held the dull compliance of council programming. But beneath that, Marcus could see something else. Desperation, human vessels. You are in violation of council space, Thess said in the prescribed diplomatic language. Withdraw immediately or face military action. Marcus stepped forward. Commander, we're here to help your children. We have the technology to cure the plague that's killing them. For a moment, something flickered in Thess's eyes. The mother in her ward with the programmed soldier. The council has approved treatments. Unauthorized intervention is forbidden. How many children have died while you waited for council approval? Elena's voice cut across the bridge as she joined the conversation. How many more will die while bureaucrats debate procedures? Thess's scales darkened with emotion. The council's wisdom guides all species. Their methods are proven. Their methods have a 43% mortality rate. Alina replied bluntly. Our quantum therapy has 0 failures in testing. We can save every child on your world, but only if you let us. The silence stretched for long moments. Marcus could see the struggle playing out across Thess's features. 5 centuries of genetic conditioning fought against the most basic instinct of any parent, the need to protect their young. Finally, Thess spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. What do you need from us? The medical intervention that followed would become legend throughout the galaxy. Human teams worked alongside Calarian doctors, sharing technology and techniques that had been forbidden for centuries. The quantum healing chambers didn't just cure the plague. They began reversing some of the genetic modifications that had suppressed Calarian intelligence and creativity, as children who had been dying hours earlier began sitting up and laughing. Something profound happened. The Calarian medical staff, witnessing the power of unrestricted innovation, began to remember what their species had once been capable of achieving. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched a young Calarian child take his first healthy breath in months and felt a deep satisfaction. This was what science was meant to do: save lives, push boundaries, expand possibilities. The Council's system of controlled knowledge and limited innovation was not just wrong, it was evil. Dr. Vasquez, one of the Calarian physicians, approached her. "These techniques you've shown us, these quantum healing principles, they're based on research our own ancestors began before the modifications." Alina nodded. "We found references to Calarian quantum biology in our historical databases. Your people were incredibly advanced before the Council intervened." The physician's eyes widened with something Alina recognized as awakening consciousness. What else did we lose? What other capabilities were taken from us? Before Alina could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Captain Chen's voice echoed through the corridors. "All hands, prepare for combat. Council enforcement fleet incoming. Multiple heavy cruisers detected." Alina looked out at the medical bay filled with healing children and made a decision that would reshape galactic history. "Commander Thess, will you stand with us?" Thess, still wearing her council uniform but no longer bound by its conditioning, looked at the children they had saved together. "My people will fight beside humans. We remember what we used to be." The battle that followed was not one with superior firepower, though human military technology proved remarkably advanced. It was one when half the Council enforcement fleet, seeing Calarian ships fighting alongside humans, began to question their own orders. Genetic conditioning was powerful, but it couldn't completely suppress the fundamental recognition that protecting children was right, and allowing them to die was wrong. As Council ships began withdrawing or switching sides, Alina realized they had reached a tipping point. The galaxy's 500-year-old system of control was beginning to crumble, and humanity had become the catalyst for its destruction. The new galaxy 8 months after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Oversight Council, the galaxy was transforming in ways that would have been unimaginable under the old regime. Ambassador Zara al-Rashid stood in the center of the newly constructed Unity Station, watching delegates from 12 species work together to establish the Free Worlds Coalition. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, human quantum architecture blended with recovered Calarian biotech, enhanced by Drakmari metallurgy and powered by Vorthok energy crystals, voluntarily provided by defectors from the Council homeworld. It represented something the galaxy hadn't seen in centuries. True collaborative innovation, Zara reviewed the latest reports with a mixture of pride and concern. The coalition was growing rapidly, but so was the desperation of the remaining council. Leadership. Chancellor Vrex had declared the Free Worlds Coalition a terrorist organization and was mobilizing the largest military force in galactic history to crush the rebellion. Ambassador Commander Thess approached her reptilian features, now bright with the intelligence the genetic modification had once suppressed. The latest intelligence reports from Council space are disturbing. Vrex is implementing emergency protocols on all remaining worlds. Zara studied the data with growing alarm. The Council was accelerating their modification procedures, attempting to strengthen their control over populations before rebellion could spread. Entire generations of children were being subjected to enhanced genetic conditioning designed to eliminate any capacity for independent thought. They're terrified, Zara realized. They know their system is failing, so they're trying to make it irreversible. Dr. Alina Vasquez materialized on the communication platform, reporting from her new research facility on Kellerian Prime. Zara, we've made a breakthrough. The quantum consciousness technique we use to cure the plague can also reverse genetic modifications. We can restore suppressed capabilities to any species that's been altered. The implications were staggering. If the coalition could reverse the modifications that kept most species docile and compliant, the Council's power base would evaporate overnight. But they would need time to develop and distribute the technology. Time the Council wasn't likely to give them. Captain Marcus Chen's image joined the conference from the bridge of his flagship. Council forces are massing at the edge of Coalition space. 17 battle fleets, over 3,000 ships. It's the largest military force ever assembled. Zara felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Humanity had started this revolution, and now billions of lives hung in the balance. The Council would rather destroy entire worlds than lose control of them. "What's our force assessment?" she asked. Marcus consulted his tactical displays. 47 ships from 6 species were outnumbered 70-1. The odds were impossible, but Zara had learned something important about humanity during their months of cooperation. They specialized in impossible victories. Human history was filled with examples of small forces defeating overwhelming opponents. Through superior strategy, technology, and sheer determination. "Alina, how long until we can deploy the modification reversal technology? If we focus all our resources, we could have it ready in 6 days," Alina replied. "But we'd need to get close to Council populations to administer it." Thess stepped forward. "There may be another way. Many Council species still have military officers who retain some independence of thought. If we could reach them with proof that modification reversal is possible, some might switch sides." It was a desperate plan, but it offered their only hope of avoiding a catastrophic war that would devastate the galaxy. Zara made the decision that would define her place in galactic history. "We broadcast everything," she announced. "Every piece of research, every breakthrough, every technique we've developed. We show the galaxy what they've lost and offer them a chance to reclaim it." Meanwhile, Chancellor Vrex stood in his war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the movement of his massive fleet. 3,000 ships, representing the combined might of 47 species, all moving toward Coalition space with one purpose: to end the human rebellion once and for all. "Status of emergency modifications," Vrex demanded, his aide consulted. "The data streams, compliance enhancement procedures have been completed on 31 worlds. Brain structure alterations show 97% effectiveness in eliminating independent thought patterns." Vrex nodded with satisfaction. Even if the humans somehow survived the coming battle, they would find a galaxy of perfect servants, incapable of rebellion or resistance. The price was high. Entire cultures reduced to automatons, but the alternative was chaos. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted. "We're detecting massive data broadcasts from Coalition space. They're transmitting on all frequencies, overwhelming our jamming efforts." "What kind of data?" "Scientific research, medical procedures, historical records, and—" The officer paused, his modified features showing the first flicker of genuine emotion Rex had seen in years. "Genetic modification reversal techniques. Vrex felt cold, crystalline fear flow through his system. If the populations learned they could be restored, if they discovered what they had lost, the Council's power would evaporate like morning mist, destroy all receivers, cut all communication networks. No one is to access these transmissions, but it was already too late. The information was spreading through networks that had been built for control but now served liberation. On worlds, throughout Council space, people were learning the truth about their past and discovering hope for their future. The first defection came from an unexpected source. Admiral Kresh, commander of the Council's 3rd Battle Fleet, suddenly broke formation and transmitted a message to his own forces. I remember who we used to be. I remember what they took from us. I will not fight to preserve a system built on the destruction of our souls. Within hours, Kresh's entire fleet had joined the coalition. Then another admiral followed suit. Then another. The massive force that was supposed to crush the rebellion began tearing itself apart as genetic conditioning failed in the face of undeniable truth. Dr. Alina Vasquez watched the reports with amazement. The quantum consciousness technology wasn't just reversing modifications. It was awakening something deeper. Species that had been suppressed for centuries were rediscovering their original nature, their creativity, their capacity for growth and change. On the Drakmari merchant worlds, traders who had been limited to approved routes began plotting expeditions to uncharted regions of the galaxy. Among the Zephyrian bureaucrats, poets began writing verses that hadn't been heard for 500 years. The Vorthok themselves, the species that had created the Council system, began questioning the wisdom of their ancestors. Captain Marcus Chen coordinated the coalition's response as Council forces continued to fracture. Ships that had been enemies hours earlier were now working together to protect worlds where modification reversal was taking place. The galaxy was experiencing its first taste of freedom in half a millennium. The final confrontation came not as a battle, but as a surrender. Chancellor Vrex, watching his empire crumble around him, made one last desperate attempt to maintain control. He activated the ultimate weapon in the Council arsenal, a quantum virus designed to shut down brain function. In any species that had undergone genetic modification, the virus should have reduced billions of beings to mindless automatons. Instead, it encountered the Coalition's quantum consciousness technology and was transformed into something unprecedented, a healing wave that completed the modification reversal process across entire star systems. Alina realized what had happened. As the data poured in, the virus was designed to interact with modified brain structures, she explained to the Coalition leadership. But when it encountered our quantum restoration fields, it became a vector for liberation instead of enslavement. Within days, the galactic transformation was complete. Species that had been servants for centuries were free to reclaim their heritage. The Council system that had dominated the galaxy for 500 years simply ceased to exist, not through conquest, but through choice. Ambassador Zara al-Rushid stood once again in the Unity Station, but now it served as the headquarters for a galaxy-wide renaissance. Representatives from over 200 species worked together to establish new frameworks for cooperation, trade, and exploration. What happens now? Commander Thess asked as they watched construction crews from dozens of worlds building new colonies in previously forbidden regions of space. Zara smiled, thinking of the long journey that had brought them to this moment. Now we find out what a free galaxy can accomplish. We explore, we create, we grow, and we make sure this never happens again. The humans had walked away from the Galactic Oversight Council's authority, and in doing so, They had shown the entire galaxy that freedom was possible. They had sparked a revolution, not through violence or conquest, but through the simple act of refusing to surrender their independence. As Elena Vasquez often said in her lectures at the new Galactic University, the Council's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating human technology or military capability. It was assuming that the desire for freedom could be permanently suppressed. They forgot that hope, once kindled, spreads faster than any virus and burns brighter than any star. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in centuries, that was exactly what everyone wanted.